the room with two shadows. I saw the second shadow before I saw the woman it belonged to. It slid along my apartment wall in the late afternoon brightness, long and certain, overlapping with Maya's silhouette as if it had paid rent. For a second I thought it was a trick of the blinds, a city tree swaying at the wrong angle. But the shape leaned, and it breathed, and it reached forward to touch Maya's arm like it belonged in the scene. I put the grocery bag down too quietly to be a real person. Apples settled. The glass bottle of tonic clinked. The shadows separated when they heard the sound, and the woman stepped into the same light I'd learned to measure our days by. "Hi," she said, not apologizing for being there. "I'm Rhea." Maya's mouth did that careful smile I only ever saw during depositions. "Nate," she said to me, calm enough to be unfair, "this is Rhea Laurent. She used to sit on our foundation's grants committee. Now she consults for—" "Your favorite nemesis," Rhea said, eyes quick. "The developer you call the magician." "I call him that when he's not in the room," I said. "When he is, I call him Grayson." Rhea laughed once, and you could hear it at practice not becoming a cackle. She wore a cream suit and no jewelry, like someone who knows which part of the knife does the work. She didn't offer her hand. Her gaze ran the length of me and then paused on Maya, proprietary the way exiles are still proprietary about places they left. "We were just finishing," Maya said. The coffee table held an open folder, and a phone faced on like it had performed a betrayal and was cooling. Rhea brought language she thinks the board should adopt. "I brought language I know the board will adopt," Rhea corrected, "if you and I make it look like it was their idea." I took Maya's measure the way I do in rooms where I'm not certain what kind of fire I'm dealing with. Her shoulders were straight, which meant she was telling the truth as she saw it. Her left foot was turned out a little, the tell when she's apologizing in advance. I could have asked for context. I didn't. Crisis managers survive by letting the first gust pass over them to see which direction the smoke travels. "I'll go," Rhea said, checking her watch. She didn't move. "Nate, we could use your head at the table tomorrow. You read contracts like music. You hear what's missing." "It'll depend on whether I'm still invited to the concert," I said. Rhea's eyes flicked to Maya, intimate and adversarial in the same moment. "He's good," she said. "He is," Maya said, and the warmth in it landed under my ribs. Rhea took the folder, cast our apartment a surveyor's look, and left in a gust of perfume that made me think of clean sheets turned criminal. When the door clicked, we stood inside one of those tender silences that decide whether they're going to break good or bad. The sun sank a notch. The river across the glass brightened like it wanted to watch. "Your favorite nemesis has good taste in emissaries," I said, "because deflection is my most elegant fault." "She came to me," Maya said. "She and Grayson are over. She wants to set a match to his halo. She thinks I'm the person who knows where the dry tinder is." I looked at the folder on the table. The language stared back, neat and sharp. Indemnification clauses, flood liability waivers, donation schedules disguised as apologies. "And the second shadow?" I asked softly. Maya's smile flattened. "Don't make symbols where there aren't any." Last time I avoided symbols. We got a story that turned our living room into a courtroom. She came to me, put her hands on my sides under my jacket the way you do when you've decided the next sentence will be kind. "I should have told you she was coming. I'm sorry. I didn't want to make it a thing." "It is a thing," I said, "but not the thing you think." "What thing do I think?" "That I'm jealous," I said. "I am, but not of her." I touched the folder. "I'm jealous of the room where you're most alive and I'm not always invited." She looked at me like I was a map that had finally decided to be accurate. "You're invited tomorrow." "Then I'll bring my ugly truth voice and my pretty tie." She kissed the corner of my mouth, a permission slip. "Bring both." We ate standing up because the chairs felt like a commitment. The city did its evening costume change. Maya was lit like a promise. When she reached past me for a lime, her robe sleeve brushed my wrist, and my heart answered in a language older than the one we'd been arguing in. "Do you ever think," she said, halting like she didn't trust herself not to run, "that we were better when we were poor?" "We were better at pretending that wanting was enough," I said, and when she exhaled, she let her forehead rest against my neck like she was letting the apartment place us both. We ended up against the window, curtains soft like accomplices. The city took its time ignoring us. Maya has always driven the moment she wants as if they were cars she can handle at any speed. She uncoupled my belt like she'd written it. My mouth found the place below her ear that resets us. The robe loosened. It didn't fall. I had a flash memory of us in our first place, a studio where the bed doubled as the table and we doubled as people we could afford to be. We weren't those versions, but the rhythm remembered. "Say it," she whispered. "What?" "That you'll stay tomorrow, even if it gets ugly." "I'll stay," I said into her throat, and the word felt like a door locking from the inside. We were careful the way people are who have learned what carelessness can cost. It wasn't a scene the internet would approve of. It was a scene the next morning would. After, our breath settled into the room like a new rule. "In the shower," she said, "Ria's not the danger." The water wrote commas down her back. "The danger is Grayson making the gift conditional and no one calling it a condition because the envelope is heavy. And the board. They love being indispensable," she said. "They'll take the crown even if it burns. Then we ice it." "We," Maya said, a smile in the word. "I'm done waiting outside doors," I said. At 2 in the morning, my phone lit up with a message I didn't recognize. "From Finch, keep your windows open. He hates fresh air." I stared until the words went odd. Finch was the bird people chose when sparrow and wren had been used up. I had a list in my head of the last 5 crises where birds delivered news more efficiently than board members. I didn't wake Maya. I filed it in the drawer labeled later. The board met at 9 in the cedar room, which smelled like expensive panic. The table was oval to feel democratic and long to feel important. Grayson sat at the far curve, tan and inevitability, a smile that created a second mouth. Beside him sat the interim counsel with a binder thick as mercy. Our chair wore a suit like armor, beautiful and too heavy for the weather. Maya opened. She didn't waste her first 10 words. "Accepting this gift as written makes us complicit," she said. "We need a clause that puts the river back into the river's mouth. We need." Grayson lifted a hand, as if he was in his living room and the rest of us were lucky to be on his couch. "Let me save us time," he said. "The lawyers have taken care of the scary verbs. The liability runs with the engineer, not the donor. We're here to celebrate impact, not litigate rain." Ria sat in the back, nominally an observer. Her mouth was a line I could have abseiled down and lived. When she caught my eye, there was an electric yes in it that told me I was now in the room she respected. I spoke when Maya touched her pen to the table, our signal. "I've read the scary verbs," I said. "They're just wearing business casual. This section lets your consultants decide what counts as an act of God." "Lawyers write like that when they're trying to be comprehensive," Grayson said. "They write like that when they're trying to escape," I said, and met his gaze the way you look at a mirror that might tell the wrong story. If a kid falls through a promenade railing you built with screws that rusted because you chose the cheaper metal, is that the rain's fault or yours? The room shifted to pay attention. The chair cleared his throat. We could table this and we could adopt the amendments in our packet, Maya said. She lifted the folder Rhea had brought, now retyped with our letterhead. They carve out donor liability for negligence, retain our right to pursue damages if new construction changes flood patterns, prohibit waivers and in-kind grants, and require independent third-party assessments before we accept anything that touches the river. If the magician's gift is clean, he won't object. Grayson smiled at her like she was a child who had mispronounced a word adorably. "You know I adore a strong woman," he said, and the women in the room all stood up inside their faces. "But this isn't how philanthropy works. I'm offering $25 million. You're offering me a headache. I can take this money anywhere." Rhea stood uninvited. "Take it anywhere, Grayson," she said, "but bring better paperwork. Some of us keep receipts." He turned his head a fraction. Something ugly flashed and then arranged itself. "Is this your doing, Rhea?" "No," she said. "This is your doing. I just stopped kissing it on the way out the door." The chair asked for a break. We filed into a hallway that smelled like lemon solvent and last chances. Maya pressed my palm once with her thumb, the way she does when she needs me anchored. Rhea leaned near enough for me to hear her perfume secondhand. "He'll threaten to pull," she said. "He'll test your appetite for public shamming." "Publish," I said. "If he pulls, we let him leave on camera." "You've got Sparrow." "I've got Finch," I said, and watched her mouth do the arithmetic. She smiled, slow. "He's learning birds," she murmured to Maya, just for the pleasure of watching me pretend not to like the attention. Back in the room, the chair proposed a vote on the amendments. 3 yesies, 2 timid abstentions, 1 no from a donor who never met a mirror he didn't compliment. Grayson leaned back. "Charming," he said, "but no, withdraw the amendments or I withdraw the gift." The chair breathed through his nose. "Then I'm afraid." "Afraid," Grayson said, rising, "is an excellent word." He closed his binder with both hands like a book he hadn't read. "This city doesn't forgive the ungrateful." Maya stood. She didn't look at him. She looked at the other board members like she was deciding whether to love them tomorrow. "We'll take the ungrateful label," she said. "We can recycle it into backbone." Grayson left. The room aged 20 years instantly. Rhea stayed seated, expression like whether you could trust. The chair pinched the bridge of his nose and muttered the curse of a good man who hates being called to be better. After, in the corridor, I felt the tremor of the thing we'd chosen. The air tasted like it would rain later and smugly tell us it had warned us. Rhea touched my sleeve. "He's going to go after you," she said. "He's small enough." "He's not my preferred size of monster," I said, "but I've fought smaller." Maya watched us, something like gratitude crossed with dare in her face. "You two should get a room," she said lightly, and the joke landed on a ledge I'd been walking all morning. Rhea didn't blink. "We already did," she said. "It was the room where 2 people chose the same wrong thing and then called it right because the consequences were beautiful." She looked at Maya. "I'm sorry I came to your apartment without giving him the courtesy of suspicion." "Next time," Maya said, "bring champagne." "Next time," Rhea said, "bring a hammer." We all laughed because the alternative was to cry, and none of us were in the mood to look ruined. The gala that night was a choreography of composure. The hotel bar served sincerity in tall glasses. When Maya took the stage, she didn't say Grayson's name. She thanked the community for holding her to the difference between soap and solvent. The applause began uncertain and ended like rain on a roof you paid for yourself. At 11, Sparrow published. The headline didn't bite hard, but it bit true. The comments were the comments. At 1, my phone lit. Finch again. Nice shot. He'll retaliate with gossip. Wear your flat shoes. At 2, the city was a confession booth with all the doors open. Rhea texted Maya a photo of the river under the bridge, dark and obedient. Then she sent one to me. The same frame, but her hand in the corner, palm up like a long-distance offering. I didn't reply. I put the phone face down and went to the balcony where Maya was sitting in my hoodie, knees up, waiting for the version of me that shows up after a fight. "Do you miss her?" I asked. "Rhea," she made a face that belonged in an art museum. "Sometimes I miss who I was when I stood next to her. I was shinier. But I don't miss the part where we thought winning meant the other person applauded." "She wants to set matches to his halo." "She wants to feel the heat," Maya said. "Me too, but with you." She leaned into me. Our apartment looked like a stage set that had survived a play. In the distance, the promenade lamps tried again to be Paris. The river made its old argument and lost, as always, gracefully. "Say it," she murmured, a half-laugh at her own superstition. "Honeysuckle," I said, and watched the word do its work. Not a password anymore, just a reminder to tell the truth before someone else tells it for you. We went inside without closing the curtains. We kept what was ours out of the camera's reach. The room had 2 shadows again, but this time they overlapped and found a shape that didn't require names. When she climbed into my lap, the robe fell open like a ceasefire. Her skin was warm from the hoodie, her mouth confident the way you get when you've been right about something that could have broken you. We moved with the exhaustion of people who won and know tomorrow will ask for more. After, in the soft clutter of breathing, I said, "Do you want me to be jealous?" "I want you to be mine," she said. "Sometimes that looks like jealousy. Mostly it looks like chairs pulled out in rooms where people would rather you stand." "I'll keep pulling them," I said. "Then I'll keep sitting," she said, drowsy and certain, "and standing, and walking back into fires with you." We slept like people who have chosen. In the morning, a new email waited from the chair, subject line, "Amendments adopted." Beneath it, a shorter one from an unknown address, "A small storm is coming. Wear something you can dance in. F." Maya read over my shoulder, chin on my scapula, hair a flag that correctly declared a country. "We're going to be okay," she said, not as a question. "We're going to be in motion," I said. "I like us better that way." "Me too," she said, and reached past me for the folder, the coffee, my hand. In the window, the room held 2 shadows and a future that didn't mind being watched.